What is going on there, YouTube? And welcome to Fresh Comic Stories. This is the channel where we sit down and cover different comic book stories from Marvel, DC, and even IDW as well. Now, over the past few weeks, we have been covering Brian Michael Bendis' Daredevil's run, which is one of the best runs on the Daredevil character, and we pick up with the next chapter of his run. In this chapter, we see the return of one of Daredevil's ex-girlfriends, who comes back into his life to add some excitement to his life. By excitement, I mean that she is going to cause some new problems for him. If you like today's comic book video, please leave me a like down below and also subscribe for more content to come in the near future. If you have any suggestions on books I should read, please let me know in the comments below. But guys, I do hope you enjoy today's comic book video. So this story does give us a small recap of what happened at the end of our last video, where we see that Millia Donovan has sent over papers to have her and Matt Murdock's marriage annulled. She felt that their marriage was not real, and Matt only married her because as part of his nervous breakdown from the death of Karen Page, someone Matt truly cared for. And you have Foggy tell Matt to sign it so both Millia and Matt can finally move on, but of course Matt does not want to, stating that he actually does love Millia. But then we jump over to Bulgaria, where we pick up with Madam Hydra, the person who runs Hydra at this moment, or could be just one of the many in charge. Either way, she was supposed to meet up with MODOK. Instead, Captain America appears, telling her that him and the Avengers have captured MODOK and they are now going to take her in as well. And this is going to be the linch point of the story, the fact the Avengers have captured Madam Hydra. And the reason why I say that is because the Avengers did not arrest her on American soil. They captured her on the Bulgarian land, meaning that they had no rights to come to this country and arrest her without permission. And so you have the Bulgarian leader talking to the US ambassador and tells them if they want to take Madam Hydra back to the US, they need to give up Black Widow then, because the Black Widow has done some illegal things there and needs to answer for her crimes. And so you have the US government agree on giving up the Black Widow, and you have the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. call up Nick Fury and tells them that he needs to call in the Black Widow, that she needs to be called in, and he does not tell Fury the reason why she's being called in for. And so you have Fury send out a message to Black Widow, who is right now in the middle of a mission at the moment, telling her to disappear because it seems like something is not right to him for his boss to tell him to bring in Black Widow out of nowhere. And so she gets the message, aborts her mission, and ends up disappearing like Nick Fury asked her to do. Now getting back over to Matt finally, you have Bendis remind us the main point of his overarching story. The whole world knows that Matt Murdock is Daredevil, and since Daredevil had claimed the role of the Kingpin, people have brought up the topic again about Daredevil being Matt Murdock and now the Kingpin. And so with that being all over the news and the fact that he is going through a divorce right now, you have Matt Murdock tell Foggy he is going home to relax. Except when Matt gets home thinking that he's about to have a quiet night for once in his life, we come to find out that Black Widow has snuck into his apartment and was waiting for him to do the dirty. Now, Daredevil and Black Widow used to date a long time ago, and now it is more of them just having a fling here and there. And she wants some, but he's like, I can't because he is a married man, and he has not told her yet. But he gets a call from Ben Urich, who tells him how Jigsaw, this Punisher villain, is going to do something shady at the docks and wondering if Daredevil wants to handle it. where of course he says yes to take his anger out on something, but he invites Black Widow, but he tells her that he wants to know why she is here after they take care of Jigsaw. And the first chapter closes with us jumping forward to the next day, and we pick up with the S.H.I.E.L.D. director getting a copy of the Daily Bugle, where he sees Black Widow in the paper, and the headlines are telling him that Black Widow is still out and around, and right now she is with Daredevil, and that is the opposite of what he wants from Nick Fury and Black Widow. But then the story shows us what happened with Daredevil and the Black Widow when they fought against Jigsaw last night, where it is honestly a 3-page fight where they were able to take care of Jigsaw very quickly. It makes sense because Daredevil and Black Widow are both trained fighters, and then there is Jigsaw, someone who is definitely not a well-trained fighter. And so the fight is wrapped up very quickly, and Ben Yurt reports the story, and that is how word got out that Black Widow is with Daredevil. And so you have Daredevil and Black Widow go home, and this leads into a section where they kiss. And so we know what Black Widow wants to do, and Daredevil is very tempted to go with her plans, except Daredevil goes downstairs, finds his briefcase, and looks at the papers from Millia Donovan's lawyer, who is again asking to have their marriage annulled. But Matt does not want to because he loves her. His love for Millia makes him turn Black Widow down for the night. But then the story jumps forward to the next day, and we get a small section where Matt and Foggy are working out of their office, and Foggy gets today's paper where he finds out that Black Widow is back in town and asks Matt what is going on between them, and you have Daredevil tell him nothing at all. Now when Foggy leaves the room, we see Jigsaw appear in the office of Matt, telling us that Jigsaw was able to pay off his bail. But the reason why he is here because he knows that Daredevil is Matt Murdock, like the rest of the world. Also throwing in the fact that Daredevil did claim himself as the kingpin of the city. And so Jigsaw came here thinking that the reason why Daredevil and Black Widow attacked him last night is because he was moving in on Daredevil's turf. And this made Matt angry because he's tired of people thinking that he is that kind of kingpin, the same kind as Wilson Fisk. And so he tells Jigsaw to leave, and he calls security. And then that made Jigsaw angry because Jigsaw has no idea what in the world is Daredevil doing as the kingpin. Like, what is his game plan being the kingpin? But moving on with the story, we now see Daredevil and Black Widow having lunch. This is where we see Daredevil finally tell Black Widow that he is technically married, but it is on the verge of being over, and Black Widow cannot believe it. And you have Daredevil explain everything that had happened between him and Millia. Sadly, before Black Widow is able to continue on to hear that the man she still has feelings for has moved on and got married, that is when you have Matt Murdock senses something in the far distance, that someone is watching them. And out of nowhere, a bunch of bullets start flying all around them. Of course, the sniper does miss Daredevil and Black Widow, mainly because Daredevil was able to detect that the sniper was nearby with his enhanced senses. And so you have Daredevil appear and begin the process of beating down on this random sniper. And we do learn who this sniper is down the road, but for now, he is just some random dude who tried to take down Daredevil and Black Widow, where you would think the fight would be wrapped up very quickly since it is Daredevil. Only to find out that this sniper brought a secret weapon, some device that emits a high-level radio wave that of course begins to mess up Daredevil because Daredevil does have enhanced hearing. And so it does throw him off and gives the sniper the chance to now beat down on Daredevil. Except the sniper forgot about Black Widow, who appears to help out Daredevil. At first, there is this stare down between her and the sniper, and him asking her if she thinks she is faster than his gun, where she tells him yes, and then proceeds to go after him, only to end up getting shot in the shoulder and have a small quick 2 to 3 page fight with this guy and get thrown off the roof by him. Luckily, she was able to fall into a dumpster that broke in her fall, but of course the sniper is gone, and when she gets back up there, we see Daredevil has been unmasked by the guy, meaning the guy confirms that Daredevil is, in fact, Matt Murdock. Later on, Daredevil and Black Widow go back to the home of Matt Murdock, where you have them mending to each other's wounds, except you have Matt ask Black Widow, why is she here? Since he thinks that the sniper was really not after him, where she tells him that Nick Fury called her in, which tells her that something is wrong. She is a top-level S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, an Avenger, and a hero, and so if she gets called in, it means someone is gunning after her. The questions are, who and why? And so you have Daredevil understand why she came here to him in the first place. That is when Daredevil once again detects something. This time he detects that there are a group of people with guns who have broken into his home. Now Black Widow wants to go ahead and handle this now, but you have Daredevil tell her no. He wants his Matt Murdock life to stay clear from his Daredevil life, and he is trying to convince the world that he is not Daredevil. And so he comes up with a plan before sending Black Widow away, and we do not know what the plan is just yet. Except we do find out that it is Jigsaw and a group of his men, and he is still upset about being taken down by Daredevil earlier. Now, the story does shift over to Nick Fury, and we find out that Nick Fury did not know that Black Widow ran off to Matt Murdock. He was hoping that she would really stay hidden from the world, not run to her ex-boyfriend whose face is all over the news right now. And so you have Fury wondering what in the world is going on. But you also have one of the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents tell Nick that someone tried to access the Matt Murdock file. And the question is, who is trying to access that file? But then the story shifts back over to Matt Murdock, and we see him outside of his house while Jigsaw is inside the house looking for Matt. And this is part of the plan, because you have Matt try to call the police, and every time he tells them who he is, they laugh at him trying to call for help, because they know that he is Daredevil and he should be able to handle his problems on his own. And so he has to pretend to be someone else when he calls the police, and which then leads to the police saying they will be there. But while he was doing that inside the house, we see that Jigsaw and his men are looking through the house, and they fall upon Black Widow, who's pretending to be someone who is just visiting Matt from somewhere else, that she's just an innocent young lady and she is scared out of her mind. Now while Jigsaw and his men are looking at Black Widow as someone who is attractive, that is when they hear the police sirens, and of course makes Jigsaw men leave scared. But for Jigsaw, he stays because he realized that this is Black Widow. Of course, before the cops are able to walk in, she takes down Jigsaw. This is where we learn that this was Daredevil's plan the whole time. He wanted to pretend that he was out taking care of business while Jigsaw broke into his home. That led to Black Widow pretending to be someone who was just visiting Matt, and she got lucky with being able to knock out Jigsaw. That was the whole plan, in a way for Brian Michael Bendis to get rid of Jigsaw from this story. Now the story does jump forward to the next day, where we see Black Widow and Daredevil out in the middle of the city, except this is really them being used as bait, because we see the sniper from earlier reappear again trying to kill the both of them, where he sees Black Widow and Daredevil give him a look that they know that he is there. But then we see S.H.I.E.L.D. and Nick Fury has shot a tranquilizer on him, where we learn that this sniper was working for S.H.I.E.L.D. and using S.H.I.E.L.D. files to find Black Widow and Daredevil. The reason why is because he was hired by someone else outside of S.H.I.E.L.D. Then the story jumps over to Bulgaria, where we learn that the country who at the beginning of our video asked the US to hand over the Black Widow for a trade for Madam Hydra has released Madam Hydra. And this is where we come to find out that the whole trade idea came from a man named Alexei Sostakov. Yes, I'm pretty sure I just butchered his last name, so please forgive me, but he is the Red Guardian, who is supposed to be Russia's Captain America, but he has some connection to the Black Widow as well. And he asked for the trade because the US broke the international rule concept so he could give Black Widow because he hates her. Long story short, Black Widow and the Avengers take him away. Now the story finally ends with Matt Murdock going to the home of Millie Donovan, where of course he is confronted by her. Now he does try to talk to her again and tries to convince her that they should try this one more time. And she tells him no. No matter how Matt words it, she is not going to fall back in love with him, because to her it seems that the only reason why Matt married her is because he was having a nervous breakdown over the death of Karen Page. And so at the end of the book, you have Matt give her what she wants. He signed the papers to have their wedding annulled, and that is end of this storyline. And so guys, please leave me a like down below and also subscribe to the channel for more content to come in the near future. Also, any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, I'm out of here, and I will see you on the next comic book video. Later, guys.